All right, come sit a little closer, sweetheart. Let me tell you a story the way my grandmother used to tell me. Slow, warm, and with a little truth tucked into every corner. You know, not too long ago, well, long enough to matter, there was an old man named Artie. Folks in his town used to call him the Century Man because he had lived past 100 years. Can you imagine that? A whole century of sunrises and storms, laughter and heartbreak. Now, one afternoon, a young fellow came to visit him. Had cameras, lights, fancy shoes, the whole city look. He sat down right where you're sitting now and said, "Mr. Artie, what's your secret? How did you live so long?" Oh, Artie chuckled, not a loud laugh, no, the kind that comes from deep in your chest, like you've seen enough of life to know better. He said, "Son, if you're here for blueberries and yoga, you came to the wrong porch." You see, Artie wasn't what folks would call careful. He smoked for years, drank his whiskey when life was good and when it wasn't, worked in a steel mill back when men came home covered in soot and silence. By all logic, he shouldn't have made it to 100, but there he was. And then he leaned in a little closer, just like I'm doing now, and said something that stuck like honey to a spoon. It ain't about keeping your body alive. It's about keeping your soul from going bad. Now that young man blinked, didn't quite know what to make of it, so Artie began his story. He was just a little boy when the Great Depression hit, 6 years old, barely tall enough to see over a kitchen table, but old enough to watch his father stand in bread lines for hours. Proud man his father was, and pride doesn't bend easy when life gets hard. By the time Artie was 10, he wasn't playing, he was working. By 18, he was shipped across the ocean to fight in a war he barely understood. And when he came back home at 22, well, he felt like he'd already lived a lifetime. But life, oh honey, life wasn't done with him yet. He met a woman, Elizabeth, soft laugh, kind eyes, the kind of woman who made a house feel like home. They built a life together, raised children, filled their days with ordinary happiness, and for a while, everything was golden, until a rainy Tuesday, a drunk driver, a missed stop sign, and just like that, she was gone. Now listen carefully here, because this is where most people lose their way. Artie didn't bounce back. No, ma'am. He broke. Sat in the dark, bottle in hand, letting grief hollow him out. Days passed, weeks. He was there, but not really there. His children could feel it. And then one night, his little boy walked up to him and said, "Daddy, are you gonna leave us too?" Oh, that question, it cut deeper than any knife. And right there, something shifted. Artie realized that pain was coming whether he liked it or not. But misery was something he was choosing day after day. So he made a different choice. Next morning, he got up, made breakfast, burned it sure, but he made it, smiled even when it felt fake, stayed even when leaving would have been easier, and slowly, like the sun rising after a long night, the warmth came back. Years passed, as they do. Children grew, work came and went. At 60, the steel mill shut down, and just like that, the man who defined himself by his job had to ask, "Who am I now?" Turns out he was more than a job. He learned to build things with his hands, grow tomatoes in his yard, sit still enough to hear the wind again. And then, oh, I love this part, at 74, he fell in love again. Yes, he did. Her name was Rose, bright, bold, a little wild, wore colors that made people talk and laughed like she didn't care who was listening. And oh, people talked all right, said he was too old, said she wasn't proper. But Artie just smiled and said, I already buried one great love. I'm not burying my chance at another. And he didn't. They danced, traveled, laughed, lived more in those years than most folks do in decades. Now here's the part I want you to hold on to, dear. When Artie was asked, after all that life, all that loss, all that love, what the secret really was, he said this: happiness ain't a place you get to, it's how you walk along the way. He talked about small things, sunlight through a window, the taste of a peach in summer, the sound of rain on a quiet night. Said those weren't little things at all, they were everything. Every night before bed, he named 3 good things from his day. Just 3. Some days it was something big, most days it wasn't, but it trained his heart to see the good. So here you are, listening to this old story on a quiet moment in your life. And if you take anything from Artie, take this. Don't wait. Not for the weekend, not for success, not for everything to be perfect, because perfect never comes. Go outside, feel the air, call someone you love, laugh when you can, cry when you must, but don't stay there too long. Life will break your heart, sugar, it will, but oh, it's still a gift. And if you're brave enough to love it anyway, well, that's the real secret. Now go on, make yourself a nice cup of coffee. All right now, don't head off just yet. Sit with me a moment longer. You've heard Artie's story, the joy, the loss, the choices he had to make. But stories like that aren't meant to just be listened to. They're meant to be shared back. So let me ask you something, sweetheart. Have you ever had a moment that changed you? Maybe not as big as a war or losing a partner, but something that made you stop and say, I can't keep living like this. A day when life nudged you or maybe shoved you into becoming someone stronger. I'd really love to hear it. And tell me this too, what are your small things? Artie talked about sunlight, rain, a good cup of coffee, but what about you? Is it that first sip of coffee in the morning before the world wakes up? A late night drive with music playing low? A laugh you didn't expect? Sometimes we forget those little moments are the ones holding us together. Now here's something worth thinking about. Are you waiting for something right now? Be honest with me. Waiting to feel ready, waiting for money, time, approval, waiting for life to settle down before you start living. If you are, what do you think it's costing you? And if you've lived through something hard, loss, failure, heartbreak, what helped you keep going? Because someone out there, maybe even someone reading this, might need your answer more than you know. So let's make this a little circle of stories, not just this old man's voice. If you could give one piece of advice, just one, to someone younger than you, what would it be? Not something fancy, just something real, something you learned the hard way. I'm right here listening, so go on, tell me your story. All right, my dear, before you head off, let me just say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, truly. If you've already subscribed and you keep coming back to sit and listen to these stories, well, that means more than you know. It really does. Now, if you're out there listening and you haven't joined our little circle yet, don't be shy. Go ahead and subscribe. And if this story touched you even a little, give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Sometimes the right story at the right moment can change a whole day, maybe even a life. All right then, I won't keep you longer. Take care of yourself, be gentle with your heart, and I'll be right here when you come back for another story. Goodbye for now, sweetheart.